litter picking. The website keepwrittentidy.org has made the article Litter Picking Essentials, and they have listed there a few things. So they say not on private land without the permission of the owner. So not on private land of another person. And also not at the roads where the people drive fast. They say 30 miles, so around 45-50 kilometers. That is too dangerous, do they say. Also not there is little or no pavement on roads. Then not near lakes, water, ponds or so. And then not too near wires, sluices or locks. Also not, if one is doing it at the beach, not at places where the tide can come in, at places where there's unfamiliar tides. So at beaches there can be the danger of tides, so the water coming in and out. And to tell a person where someone is going and when to come back. Now we're saying, what does someone need? They're saying someone needs a litter picker. These are such things, and with them then the litter is picked. One should not touch with sole hands the litter. And then a bag, do they say, and they also say strong gloves. And also shoes. It should be closed, sturdy shoes. And also appropriate clothes for the weather. And for the disposal of the litter, they say small things can be put into the person's own waste or to public bins. But if there's more, it cannot be just placed next to bins. It can be seen as fly tipping. So if someone is collecting bin and places it next to a public bin, the police can say that it's fly tipping. So a person just taking their own rubbish and placing it at another place, and that can have quite high penalties. So there has to be found a way to do it legally. And then do they also say there can be steep slopes, slippery banks, derelicts, dangerous buildings, ruins, livestock, electric fences, so hazardous places. Near water can be dangerous. Not to touch the face or open wounds with the gloves or with the hands and wash the hands afterwards. To have a mobile phone with so that one can phone if there's something going wrong. And maybe also to have an app. They're suggesting here the app 3 Word. That is an app where one can say 3 words, and when the police knows where a person is. It's maybe not working in all countries, but the person is saying 3 words and they are specifically to a very small location, and the police know where that location is. And maybe a high visibility vest, bright colors, only in full daylight. To look that it is within the person's own personal capabilities. If they're children, then that they are accompanied by responsible adults. And maybe also that there is public liability insurance for bigger volunteer groups if someone is accidentally damaged or injured. They also say that there are some hazardous objects. Canisters, oil drums, flares and chemical containers, so some things can be too dangerous to take them. Also sharp objects such as broken glass, metals and disposable barbecues, so these things are dangerous and they maybe not. They recommend to avoid them for the person's own risk. Also things like needles, syringes, clinical waste not to touch. Also feces not to touch. And not dead animals. And also fly tipping material not. If people have brought their own home wastes to a place, not to touch it. There can be things in like asbestos or things. And if someone gets the fine dust of the asbestos breathed into the lungs, they can cause cancer. And also not heavy or bulky items. And vapes also, so things with batteries in them. Vapes are types of cigarettes. And there is a battery in, and if one collects them and has them somewhere, they can start a fire. So they have to be done also carefully, or rather not, do they more or less advise. They also say, quote, "We believe sharing the results of your litter picking is almost as important as removing the litter. This helps us evidence the scale of the national litter problem and the big difference volunteers make." And then they also say here that website Keep Written Tidy cannot be held legally responsible for any personal injury or any losses or damages suffered or incurred as a result of participating in a litter pick, save to the extent that such liability cannot be limited or excluded by law. And that this is just a guiding purpose. and that every place has its own specific risks. The positions and views expressed are the ones of the source and don't necessarily align with my own or with the ones of the entity spoken of.